Hi everybody, this is another episode of Less People. I'm Jenny Russell. This time we're going to talk about the LIVIN Project. They are two guys from California who are walking across the United States to raise money for charity. But I took another lesson from this as they walked across Kansas. So as you watch this, as you watch their Facebook page and follow along with them as they walk through the states, you take their story and you find it very interesting. But when I watched it, I noticed that their journey through Kansas was a lot like other people's journey. We don't all walk through Kansas, but we all, if you did not grow up here especially, and I guess if you grew up in a rural area, you come to appreciate it differently as you get older. And sometimes you are one of those things where you think, ew, Kansas? And you get there and you realize, whoa, this is not what I thought, or this is growing on me.
We have now walked across Delaware, Maryland, West Virginia, Ohio, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri, and now, welcome to Kansas, baby. Everybody's been talking about Kansas. It's gonna suck. We're gonna walk right through it. Let's do this.
So everyone says it's going to suck. That's one of their quotes from this. Walking across Kansas is going to suck. And this is another reason why it's important to tell our rural story well, and why you should always experience things for yourself, not just what other people say about it. Yes, you can pay heed and listen to advice, but experience things for yourself because it might surprise you. So it's important to experience the state by getting off the beaten trail. This is another thing that the two guys learned as they walked across Kansas.
These roads are tight. I am so grateful to not have the car today.
The eastern side of the state, they were definitely walking on the populated highways because I think they were in the Kansas City area. As they got out through the other parts of the state, they were mostly walking on, I think, country roads that look like, some more like trails. So get off the beaten path. You're going to find more interesting things off the beaten path in Kansas than you are on the main roads. A prime example of this is, I would say, most people experience Kansas through I-70 and or as a flyover state, and they see it from a plane. Those are not the most interesting parts of Kansas by far. Kansas has lots of little towns, lots of quirky attractions, and really great people. So get off the beaten path. That's one of the first lessons from the LIVIN Project.
This is how we try and get a place to sleep. We knock on doors and ask if we can stay in the backyard. Sun is going down. We knocked on like 10 houses. Everybody just said, get out of here. Then we knocked on a very nice old lady who said, hey, it's gonna sound crazy. We just want to stay here for the night, throw up our tent somewhere. We'll be gone early in the morning. And now look where we are. In the barn on the side. This is our spot for the night.
The second lesson, as you go from the more populated part of the state to the more rural part of the state, you can see how the openness of the people changed. As the eastern side of Kansas is very much more populated than the western side. And you can see that in how the people interacted with the LIVIN Project. Plus, in Kansas, the word can spread like nowhere else, which is a bad thing if it's a bad subject, if it's something you're wanting to hide. But it's a great thing if you want to get help with something. So as they came across the state, you could see that people were sharing it on social media. Word was getting out that they were coming to different towns, and people were excited and reciprocating with drinks and support and places to stay. And the more they travel on this LIVIN Project Facebook page, the more you can see how they're getting extra help and extra interaction with people, because the word spreads in Kansas like nowhere else. One of the examples of this, when I was in college, I had a friend who was from Houston, and she was always amazed that no matter where I went, I knew somebody, or I knew somebody that knew somebody that I knew. So she always was like, how do you do that? You know, we go to McPherson and you're like, oh, hey, do you know JC? And they're like, yeah, JC from Hoxie, you know, like that kind of thing. And I'm like, well, we have way less people than Houston does, for one. And for two, you move to a rural place, you move to Kansas for the people, not for the amenities. The people here are like nowhere else. Number 3, the lesson I took from the LIVIN Project. See Kansas as an explorer. Walk on a trail, not a highway. I just referenced that before. So don't get off I-70. Look at the more interesting parts of the state. But it's often the road less traveled, which is the most interesting.
In Kansas right now, which is a bit of a scary feeling because this is going to be the hardest state of this entire walk so far. It is not only the biggest and going to be the hottest we have experienced, but the towns are about to get a lot further apart. We are about to enter much more rural America, where we will have several day stretches where we will not see a town, where we will not have a store to stock up on food and water and things like that. And really, one of the craziest parts about that too is this will likely not even be our hardest state of this trip, because after Kansas, we have Colorado, Utah, Nevada, who all have their own crazy challenges with elevation, mountains, deserts, heat, rural, spaced out towns. But right now, we are focused on the 3 or so weeks that we are going to be spending walking across the entire state of Kansas from border to border. So we're keeping our mind on that, taking this one day at a time, because the goal has not changed. We will walk across this entire country.
On this part, each state has its own challenges. I think that is a very true statement. Kansas is very, very, it's very wide. Has a lot of acres. And I don't even think Kansans really realize that sometimes. The representatives from the eastern part of our state, which does have more of the population, yes, they have a hard job being a politician in those areas. But the Big First District is, they call it the Big First for a reason. That is a huge amount of territory. So the politicians that do make the trek represent our area and really try to get out to each of these communities in their off time and listen to what the people are saying about their challenges. I tip my hat to them. Driving from even where I am from in this kind of the more central part of the state down to Liberal or down to Elkhart, which is in the very, very southwest corner of the state. It's hours, maybe 6-8 hours down there. And the amount of mileage and amount of terrain that you cover is huge. There's something that was talking about, I think Liberal's closer to 3 other state capitals than Kansas's state capital, and they're in Kansas. So they're closer to Texas, Oklahoma, maybe Colorado, than they are to their own capital, state capital in Kansas. So, but each state does have its challenges. California has its own challenges. New York has its own challenges. Yes, Kansas is rural, and we have our own challenges. Same thing, North Dakota, South Dakota. Everybody has a challenge, even Colorado. So I think that's really important to think about. Every state has its pluses, and every state has its minuses.
Today is day number 5 of walking across Kansas. And 5 days in, we're really getting the Kansas experience so far. Look to the right, bunch of open fields. Look to the left, more open fields. Far in the distance, some wind turbines. Actually, earlier, there were nice cornfields and wheat fields. So it's really all the same out here until we hit some of these smaller towns, get some food, get some waters, and get a little bit of variety. But while we're on this trail, we're basically seeing the same thing all day, 8 hours a day. Just walking in the heat. No clouds, no shade. and it can take a toll on the mind, but Philip and I, we're getting used to it. We're getting not only physically stronger out here, but we're getting mentally stronger too.
Okay, listen, on this one, on day number 5, no clouds, no shade, but that makes for a more resilient people. They're talking about walking in this vast terrain with it. They're walking in the middle of summer, so that's hard. Kansas is hot, and we talked about this in an earlier episode about pioneers and how that shaped who we are as a people out here, and how our terrain, our weather is not for the faint of heart. You cannot be, you have to be very tough when you're out here in this weather, in this terrain, and living in this day to day.
Nice hot day walking across Kansas. Big shout out to her. She brought Philip and I some nice cold drinks because we're doing about 19 miles today until we hit the next town.
Last few miles of the day, pop the tops off, trying to get a little tan, even out this gnarly farmer's tan here.
I laughed at day 6. He talks about his gnarly farmer's tan. For sure, you're going to get a gnarly farmer's tan out here. These Midwestern states define what farmer's tan meant, because those who are outside every single day, and they're not wearing their flip-flops and their tank tops, they're definitely wearing work gear. And so when they come back in, there's definite parts of their arms that are white, and their legs are usually very, very white, or their arms are very dark and their legs are very white and their middle part's very white. So I laughed at him and his farmer tan discovery and his ability to try to cover that up. And then what I found in this episode, as they're walking across the state, they're discovering how important connections are. That is something that Marcy Penner and her group at the Kansas Sampler Foundation, that was the kind of their focus for the year a couple of years ago, about networks and connections. And Network.Kansas here in Kansas, the same way. It's all about who you know. And that's not just in this kind of work, it's in life in general. Those connections that you make with people, those deep connections and how they understand you, are really important to success in life. And it's really important to success in Kansas. And they're starting to discover this as they walk across our state, as more and more people, like I said, the word is spreading that they're coming. More and more people are showing up to help them, and more people are showing up to give them places to stay at night.
Today's day 8, walking across Kansas. Sun's going down right now, getting the last few miles, Philip and I, side of the road here. And I wanted to address a question. People ask, how do we have the discipline to wake up every day and walk basically a marathon? We're on mile like 25 of 26 today. It's like a marathon every day. Not doing this many every day, but every day we're doing around 20 miles, a little more, a little less some days. How do we have the discipline to do this? We aren't Navy SEALs. We aren't anyone special with 2 college dropouts essentially walking across America. And we have our heads set on a goal so hard that really it doesn't require that much discipline. When you are so set on something, you want to do it. We wake up, we don't want to walk. We kick each other in the leg to get up, but we want to achieve a goal. So we don't want to do the 25 miles this day, but we want to get a day closer to that beach in California. We're walking from Delaware all the way to California, and every day, every step is one step closer home. Every day completed is one day closer to achieving the goal that we've wanted for the last year. So that's where the discipline comes from. That's where the motivation comes from. It doesn't spike and it doesn't drop. Throughout the day it does, but overall, the motivation's this high and the discipline's this high and the goal is up here. So we need to work harder and we need to walk more, because California, we're coming.
All right, day number 8 as they walk through Kansas. Here's my takeaway. There's something that you learn about yourself in the solitude and when you turn off the noise. I think we're seeing that a lot with the focus on mental health across the United States in these days. And we're seeing that the noise and the bombardment of all of the different medias are really challenging. And I believe what I noticed as they're walking across our state in this particular episode of the LIVIN Project is that they're starting to realize that the solitude, you have a lot of time to think. And Kansas does offer a lot of opportunities for solitude. Yes, we're still being bombarded by all the media and all the noise, and rural busy is a different kind of busy, as I spoke about early in an earlier episode. It's no joke, and it's not for the faint of heart. It's the ability to turn off that noise and use the solitude Kansas is super important. All right, day 9.
But we are still getting miles done, still making progress on this big ass state that is Kansas. And on top of that, we've been on back roads like this all day today. I mean, we've been on it for the past few days. There is no shade here to hide us from the heat. We do have a little bit of cloud cover right now, which we're grateful for. There's some big storms coming in tonight, but we are still powering through and hoping to make progress because we want to cross this huge state in 3 weeks or so. So keeping one foot in front of the other, still pushing west. So we're gonna get this done.
Anyway, they're finding Kansas is a huge state. I noticed that Kansas City, I had an example of this from this summer. I was at a conference, and the person talking was talking about, we were gonna put this conference in Sterling, but gosh, that's a long way away. That is definitely all about perspective and your lived experience about where you live in some of these rural states. Sterling is actually very close. It's probably the closest potential conference location for us up here in the middle part of the state. But from his perspective, coming from Kansas City, Sterling was so far away. Like I said earlier in the episode, Liberal is closer to other people's state capitals than they are to the Kansas state capitals. So if you're in Liberal, Sterling is closer than most other things as well, even though that's still really far away. So again, it's a big, huge state. It's all about your perspective. So when you're talking to others and considering their experience, consider where they live and make sure your statements are revised to take in their lived experience and take in what they deal with every day. Now, day 10 of the LIVIN Project, here's my takeaway. The appreciation starts in this episode. The guys start to appreciate Kansas a little bit more.
It is day 10 of walking across Kansas, and contrary to what many people have told us, it has been really beautiful so far in kind of an unexpected way. Back home where we're from in California, it's more like you got to get to the tallest hill or the tallest mountain in town just to see a couple miles in front of you, just to get those types of views. But here in Kansas, I mean, off to my side, not even the craziest example, but you can see miles and miles in just about any direction. Like, it's wild. We're on just about the same elevation as everything else, yet you can see so far, and it's really just been beautiful.
Look at the sky, how blue it is. When there's no clouds in the sky. And even when there are clouds, the clouds are just so much more defined and beautiful. And then at night when the sun's going down, I don't know if it's because it's flatter or what, but the sunsets are so much prettier here in Kansas late afternoon. And I mean, people say Western Kansas might get a little more dull, but we don't mind. We've been blessed with what we've been able to see thus far. And Kansas, we're almost done with you. We're gonna kill this state, and then we're going on to Colorado. Let's go.
First start out, they're like, this is going to be terrible. It's going to be a huge state. It's going to be boring. And they do consider some of it boring. And to be fair, some of the parts of the state do have very similar terrain. And when you're walking 20 miles a day, it doesn't change much. But their appreciation really starts. They start seeing how far you can see and appreciating that. You can see miles and miles. And in California, you can't see very far. And that's where they're from. They're appreciating the blue sky and the defying clouds and the best sunsets. All so true for Kansas and a lot of the Midwest. Beautiful in its own way. We don't have mountains, but we do have beauty. All right, day number 11. Here's my takeaway. This is the day that they find out about Kansas weather. Take a listen.
Kansas, what is with your weather? It said it was gonna be 80 degrees and sunny. Now we're getting rained on and hail is hitting us. Like little pieces of ice. I don't think we've seen hail since we were maybe 6 years old. Also, How is there hail? It's like 80 degrees right now. How can there be ice? I don't understand. Also, there's thunder going on, even though there's blue skies to my side. Like, where is this thunder coming from? I haven't seen any strikes of lightning.
The weather app is a lie.
The weather,
Don't trust it.
do not trust the weather app. I swear it's just a dude with a thermometer putting in his best guess every day. Like, this is unreal right now. But we are pushing through, getting hit with blocks of ice. You know, that's just life in Kansas, I guess, and that's life on the road. So we're pushing and we're gonna get through this day.
Okay, the next day, this is what my takeaway from this LIVIN Project day is. This is the day they discover Kansas bugs.
But if you guys saw our video earlier today, you'll know that Philip and I hit a big milestone in the walk. And we were out there filming that video earlier, and we were getting lit up by mosquitoes, and I actually had another bloody nose. And I was in a lot of discomfort, but then I actually started smiling because I remembered 6 months ago when we were sitting in his basement talking about, okay, we're gonna walk to Kansas and we're gonna put the drone up in the sky and we're gonna film it like this and we're gonna use this song. And amongst all that discomfort, I was just like, we're here. We are doing it.
Kansas bugs, Midwest bugs, no joking. They're no joke at all. Mosquitoes right now, this time of Kansas, and when they were walking across the state, you're definitely going to get eaten up if you do not have bug spray on. And I noticed that when we were in California last summer. I always wanted patio furniture that is like in those ads for Menards and Lowe's and all of these different places. And I keep trying to kind of do that on a budget. And the reality of it is those pictures are taken in California. They're definitely not taken in the Midwest. I mean, my throw pillows are covered in dirt and halfway to town by the time I get to use them. And it's not necessarily... like I said, the bugs will attack you when you're out there trying to use it. And so it's never going to stay pretty. It's never going to stay clean enough to use it all the time. And you're going to have some sort of screened-in porch because you're going to get... the bugs are going to fly away with their throw pillows. How about that? So it's interesting how the different parts of the nation really are very different. But this is the day they learned about Kansas bugs. Okay, the next day, day 14. This is the day I think that they discover Kansas people and the Kansas word of mouth.
Yeah!
Right now we are in Hayes, Kansas. It has been great. We met a bunch of you guys. Thank you all for the Gatorades and the waters and everything. It's really helped out. But yeah, we are now, like Philip said, back to the old ways of life, just on our 2 feet with that stroller starting tomorrow. I mean, if any of you guys are down to help us out, drive with us and kind of be a part of this journey with some car sport, let us know, DM us. But I mean, back to the houseless life.
As I talked about earlier in this episode, as they started to walk across the state, social media started lighting up and everybody started sharing it, and the power of Kansas people started to come through. People started to spread the word, and they got a lot more help than they had at the first of the states. So kudos to Kansas people. Kansas people are the best, and they're starting to figure this out on the LIVIN Project here in these episodes.
Hot day here in Kansas. We have walked about 13 miles so far. Gonna walk a couple more as we're getting into the town of Ellis, Kansas. Shout out to all you Ellis people. You guys have been so nice, so kind. We've had a lot of people pull over and say what's up, and we appreciate you guys, and we're gonna keep walking through the town.
So somebody offered us a place to stay here in Ellis. So we're about to take this whole thing apart because we're about to get picked up by them right now.
This is our host.
Hi, how you doing?
In Kansas right now, I'm here with
Wendy,
and she has cooked maybe the ideal meal we could ever ask for. Kansas ribeye, corned beans. I mean, I couldn't dream it up any better, and thank you, Wendy.
Oh, you're welcome. It's for a good cause and you're good boys.
This meal is absolutely unbelievable. After a long day of walking, this is a fever dream of a meal. So grateful.
Okay, the next day, let's see. I wrote down as my show note, Hans does not have enough to do. So a lot of times, Kansas people, some of us are hard on ourselves and we're not our best advertisers. So I've noticed this sometimes if you go into a convenience store in a town and you think the town's awesome and you go into the convenience store and the clerk says, you ask her, what's there to do or where should I go? It's boring. There's nothing to do. Not a great look on your town. And Hans in this episode doesn't have enough to do.
Right now we're in the small town of Quinter, Kansas, here with my boy Hans. And what's it like living in a town like this?
Honestly, pretty boring. You guys coming through is kind of the most exciting thing that's happened all year long, but I don't know, it's the vibe, I guess.
If you're bored in a rural area, that is your own fault. Go volunteer somewhere. Volunteer at a church, at the library. Go pick weeds downtown in your downtown and make it look better. You don't have to have permission to do that from anybody. You don't have to have permission to go clean up at the park, pick up trash. You don't have to have permission to go volunteer somewhere. You go say hello to your new neighbor and bring them a plate of cookies. Go and get a part-time job somewhere, especially after COVID. I think we're all noticing the fact that, especially restaurants, those type of places do not have enough staff. So again, there's so many things, especially as a high school student in Kansas, and especially in a rural area of Kansas, you should never be bored. I've been kind of saying there is no busy like a 1A school kid busy, and 1A is the smallest possible school in Kansas. And I mean, we're just going balls to walls. We are going crazy busy from the time school is out to the end of the summer. And when school starts, it does not get better. It's we're in everything because you have to be. If you want a basketball team, you have to have enough kids go off basketball. So you don't have to be great at basketball. We just need you out. Same thing for most of the other sports. So again, Hans does not have enough to do. If you're bored in Kansas, you are not contributing enough. If you're bored in a rural area, use your volunteer skills. Use your ability to go paint a bleacher, to go pick up trash, to go pick out weeds. Go get a part-time job. Help somebody, a business out in your community, make their life a little bit better. Day 19, this is the day that we were at Colby, Kansas for a baseball tournament, and these poor guys were walking across Kansas. It was probably 95 degrees that day. It was like a 50-mile-an-hour wind, and we were sitting outside at this game in Colby and just dying in the shade. So I felt bad when I watched this particular episode of the LIVIN Project because it was no joke out there. It was nasty that day.
19 of walking across Kansas, and here are some challenges that you may not expect and can't really see on camera, like how hot it is out here. I mean, you may expect that it's June in Kansas, but it is hot as hell. It's like 90 degrees every single day, just non-stopping. Kansas is not much of a state for providing shade, and we're 20 miles away from towns at any given time, so the water in our packs gets real hot. It's not like there's ice water stations anywhere on our route, but we push through that. Another challenge, we're on this dirt road. We've been on dirt roads a lot, and it may seem like, oh, what's the big deal? That doesn't really matter. But we're pushing this baby stroller here with maybe 100 pounds of weight or so. And when you're pushing on dirt roads like this, you have to push a lot harder than you would if you were on concrete or something like that.
But this is the day they discover Kansas thunderstorms. They stay at a yurt village, which I'm going to have to go check out. But they discover Kansas thunderstorms in this episode, and they also discover some of our quirks. So as I said earlier in this episode, get off the I-70 and go check out the path less traveled. We've got some really weird but quirky and interesting things that make Kansas kind of fun. We don't have Disney World, but that does not mean we don't have some of those 8 cultural elements from the Kansas Sampler Foundation. Go check that out on the website that they have for that. And we've got some fun things. And in this episode, they find some of our fun things. So
it's day 109 of walking across America, and today we're staying at the yurt village. We're on our way to the 100-foot sinkhole.
Giant sinkhole out here in Kansas.
I feel like we're in like Kazakhstan or some random country. This is so different. But we're moving in to Yurt City.
Again, Yurt Village. I have no clue where this is even at. I'm going to have to go find this out. And they do a sauna that day at the Yurt Village. They visit a big sinkhole, and they discover our highest point in Kansas, Mount Sunflower. So check out this episode of LIVIN Project to see what Mount Sunflower is. So basically, as you go from the east side of the state to the west side of the state, and you're starting to get toward Colorado, the elevation of the state changes, but it does so gradually, so you don't really realize you're at the highest point of Kansas, and it doesn't really look like the highest point of Kansas. So, and the takeaway from this episode is discover the oddities that make Kansas quirky and make Kansas even more fun. Day 20, the takeaway from this episode is those storms come fast. Listen to this clip.
This is what we have been saved from, an unbelievable thunderstorm. We went outside just to check it out. We never see stuff like this, and oh my God, I am so grateful to have a place to stay indoors tonight.
Huge thunderstorms. We're just watching the lightning strike and we're going head on.
It's starting to rain. I think we are now really getting into it. There's some shelter up ahead, or at least buildings up ahead, and we're gonna try and get a roof over our heads.
Just for a little context for all the new viewers, Philip and I are walking across America to raise money for charity. And right now we are in Tornado Alley in the prime of tornado season. So we don't mess around, we're getting inside.
All right, the lightning has gone from little strikes in the distance, oh my God, to holy, oh my God. Okay, I was about to say it's gone to like 6 seconds away. Now it is literally within like 2 seconds, which means it's less than a half mile away from us.
We gotta go. We're picking up the pace. Trying to get under something. Hi, I'm sorry to bother you. My buddy and I were walking across America right now. We just got caught out in the lightning. You think we could stay under here for a bit?
That's fine. You guys need to move this stuff. That's fine.
Yeah, thank you guys. All good.
All right, now the last takeaway, two more takeaways from the LIVIN Project, and you'll have to go out and check out their Facebook page. I will drop it here in the show notes, and follow their trip across the rest of the United States. Go back and view their different locations that they've been to since they left Delaware back in February, I believe. And kind of listen to their experiences. They're kind of fun to watch, and I'm proud of them for persevering. It takes a lot of perseverance, and they talk about it in their episodes. But go back and check that out. Please check out the charity that they're raising money for.
And we have raised over $12,000 for the charity Convoy of Hope. Thanks to you guys and all your generous donations and for watching these videos. It's really just amazing. It goes to help people in need, and what's really special about this charity is 92% of what's donated to them actually goes to help these causes that they support, which makes it one of the top charities in the entire world in that stat. So every dollar goes a little bit farther.
And contribute if you feel so inclined. But day 21 of their episodes, here's a takeaway I found from that. Their true appreciation of Kansas sunsets is realized. So they talked about this earlier in one of their episodes, but it comes back again. And if you've never seen a Kansas sunset, check them out. Come out here and check them out. They are like nothing else. Some of the nights, they're just awesome. So, and their final takeaway, and I'll let you listen to some of this clip. When they finally get to Colorado, Kansas grows on you, and you'll see why. Listen here.
First of all, I mean, come on. Best sunsets of any state we have walked through. It's just unbelievable every night.
And the people have been amazing. We've met so many people all the way from the eastern side to the western side, made lifelong friendships.
Yeah, genuinely, to all the people we've met here, we've met some of the most amazing people of this whole trip in this state. Like, thank you so much for all you guys and all the help you've given us.
But it's not been all sunshine and rainbows. We've had I just saw lightning right there. It's crazy weather, hot. Eastern side was humid. This side's very dry, and nothing like where we're from.
Yeah, I mean, even though this is the closest we've been to home on this trip, this felt the furthest away I'd ever been. Just the terrain so different. You could see from miles and miles at any point of the day, and just the craziest weather we've seen of this whole walk too.
Yeah, and that causes it to be a little boring at times, but we also did find it very beautiful, the prairie land, and we love this state. Colorado, we're coming for you.
Okay, that is my takeaways from the LIVIN Project as the guys walk across the state of Kansas, about 20 miles a day, every day, until they got across the state. I hope you've enjoyed this analysis. They are now going into Colorado, and I think what you're going to see that they're finding is people give Western Kansas a bad rap because it's the more flat part of the state. It's the more desolate part of the state in terms of lots of distance in between towns, those type of things. But I think what these guys are finding is that Eastern Colorado gets to claim the mountains, and everybody thinks of Colorado, they think of the mountains, but actually Eastern Colorado is tougher terrain than Western Kansas. So it's always interesting to me how Kansas gets the moniker of Western Kansas, and that's how we're known as flat and boring and all of these different things. But Colorado gets to claim the middle part of their state and the western side of their state, the cool mountainous part, and that's what they're known for. So again, think of people's lived experience and go visit these places. Be fair about your analysis and actually look at them with new eyes like these guys did as they walk across the United States for the LIVIN Project. I am Jenny Russell, and this has been another episode of Less People. Go check out the LIVIN Project, and I hope you've enjoyed this episode. We will see you next time on this podcast.